Greetings. Greetings, everyone. It's Angelo Robles. For those of you live, a Sunday night at about 6 o'clock Eastern. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Something's been brewing with me, and I feel that some of you would enjoy a little bit of my context to it. Two Americans, two visions, one choice. Warren, as in Elizabeth Warren, or Elon Musk. Without further ado, shall we begin? Again, two Americans, two visions, one choice. Elizabeth Warren wants to tax what you built. Elon Musk is building what never existed. This week, I'm covering both, a two for one, and the contrast could not be any more stark. We'll start with Elizabeth Warren. The Ultra-Millionaire Tax Act. Elizabeth Warren's slow confiscation of everything. The Ultra-Millionaire Tax Act of 2026. So let's talk a little bit about Elizabeth Warren. Senator, I might add, Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of the great state of Massachusetts, just introduced what she is calling, with a lot of support, the Ultra-Millionaire Tax Act of 2026. And I want to explain exactly why this is one of the most dangerous ideas ever seriously proposed in the United States Senate, and why it is not really about taxes at all. It's about something much bigger that, from my perspective, the Democratic Party has been quietly building towards years. I said years ago, one day unrealized capital gains would be under threat. And sure enough, look at what's happening in California. We've covered that. But this is a national level. But first, let's kill the lie of the whole argument that it's built on. Elizabeth Warren gets in front of every camera she can find and tells you why the wealthy don't pay their fair share. And she says it over and over and counts on the fact that most people, honestly, won't look it up. So let's look it up. The top 10% of income earners, and I know that's not the core concept that she's bringing up, but it plays into this. The top 10% of income earners in this country pay approximately 90% of all federal income taxes. The top 1% pays approximately 40% of the entire tab. And nearly half of all Americans, like almost 50%, effectively pay zero federal income tax. Not a reduced amount, you heard that right, zero. So when Elizabeth Warren broadly says the wealthy aren't paying their fair share of what exactly? They're already carrying the entire operation on their backs. At what point is enough of capitalism, of having the guts to be an entrepreneur, of building something? Like, are we looking to take that away? The rise of socialism in the West, including in the US, and Mamdani, as we saw in New York City, very concerning. Now, here's what makes the wealth tax completely different and far, far more sinister than anything that we've had proposed before. That we shall see this begin in states and federal. It's almost a matter of time. Right now, you're taxed on what you earn. A transaction happens, money comes in, the government takes its cut. You kind of understand it. You can plan for it. A wealth tax kind of throws all of that out the window. Again, wealth tax, not income tax. A wealth tax says we don't care what you made this year. We're going to look at your entire balance sheet, every asset you own, every stake you hold, every investment you have not sold. And we're going to tax the total value of it every single year, whether you made $1 or not. Now, think about it. Think about what this actually means. Real wealth is not sitting in a bank account. It's often a stake in a private company. It's in real estate. It's a family business worth, who knows, if they're very successful, maybe on paper, tens of millions of dollars. It might even throw off a couple of $1 million of cash every year. Stay with me. Warren's government shows up January 1st, looks at that valuation and says, you owe us $1 million in my example today. I'm rounding off some numbers. I get it. Not what you sell, not what you actually realized, not when you cash out, but today. And you say, well, I may not have that $1 million of cash. It's all in the business because you care about growing the business. They say, well, I guess not our problem. You are forced, in my example, perhaps to take a loan against what you built, sell a piece of it, liquidate positions you've never intended to touch, just to pay a tax bill on money that you've not realized yet, on gains that are completely unrealized, that exist only on paper. And how about a down year when your portfolio drops and your company gets marked down? Like you're sitting on real losses. Warren, well, she still wants her check on January 1st valuation. The government, what a surprise. The government does not share the downside with you. They just come back next year and do it again. Taxed on the way up, eat the losses on the way down. Heads they win. Well, for those old enough to remember that phrase, heads they win, tails you lose. This is not tax policy. This is the government making itself a permanent silent equity partner in effectively everything that you own. Contributing nothing, as most governments really don't, taking zero risk, and demanding payment first, regardless of the performance. And look, Europe ran that experiment. What, a dozen countries tried the wealth tax. Most of them killed it quietly because, well, it's a disaster. France ran theirs for effectively kind of about 35 years. 60,000 millionaires left the country. 60,000 high IQ entrepreneurs spending money and philanthropic benefits back in their community. $200 billion in capital effectively walked out the door. Their own government finally admitted it. It was costing more than it raised and scrapped it. Sweden repealed theirs, and suddenly people started to come back. Investment came back, and you got some good entrepreneurial companies out of there, Spotify, Klarna, and others. Kind of an entrepreneurial renaissance. Good for them. And funny how that happens when you stop punishing. That's the word for success. Remember, most people rather punish the rich than help the poor. Said it before, I'll say it again. Now, this bill, okay, it won't pass Congress, and Elizabeth Warren knows that, but this was never about passing it today. It's about normalizing it, making people aware of the conversation, threatening it, and getting more and more people to kind of accept it. Moving the line so that maybe in 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, when it comes back, not at the 50 million proposed, I get it. I know what some of you are going to say with that, but maybe at 5 million, maybe less. People shrug and say, well, we've been talking about this forever. Well, don't shrug, because the wealth tax is not a standalone idea. It's a symptom of something much larger that has been taking over, very different than the Democratic Party that I grew up in, that for, probably most of my adult life I supported. And now it's standing front and center without any apology whatsoever. It is going downhill fast, socialistic. And again, we're seeing it with the rise of Mamdani, Ro Khanna in California, obviously Elizabeth Warren now for a long time. And it's sort of AOC. I could go on and on. And before anyone says that, that's a socialism, that's too strong a word for what's actually being proposed, let me stop you right there. When the answer to every single problem is the government taking more money from productive people and redistributing it through Washington. That is the engine we're talking about, regardless of what you call it. Now, look at what Warren, on the surface, kind of wants to fund with this tax. Free childcare, free college, Medicare for everyone, guaranteed pay leave. Nothing more that voters most like who don't think it through than free stuff, of course. And then that becomes a burden, our debt, our deficit in the government. The entire wish list, all of it run effectively by the federal government. We want bigger government, of course, don't we? Well, the Democrats are proving that they do. All funded by taxing the people who actually built something. It's not a safety net. That's permanent dependency infrastructure. And once you build it, it never gets smaller, or it's very hard. It only grows. What starts at 50 million trickles down to 5 million to less. What starts at a tiny percentage, once they get their hooks in, starts to grow every year. So how the playbook works, they find a problem that is real. Healthcare is expensive. College is expensive. Opportunity does feel out of reach for a lot of families. Before any of you say something, broken home, welfare parent, never came close to graduating from college. And so these are legitimate concerns, but the answer that I seem to hear too much appears to be very identical. Lock in step, more government, more spending, more programs, effectively more control. And it never actually fixes the underlying problem. Of course, it can't. It just makes the government bigger, the private sector smaller, and the individual more dependent. When you are dependent on your government and the federal government, admittedly, I have a libertarian bent. You're dependent on Washington for the basic functions of your life. It's not a coincidence. This is a specific strategy and a point. A dependent population is, well, a reliable voting population because of fear, because of ignorance. Again, skills have utility. Obsession, hard work, being resilient, getting knocked down. But no, just handouts, yet again, from the government, bigger government, punishing people that actually produce. The American idea was never, and it can't be about equal outcomes. Yeah, equal opportunity, absolutely. Equal outcomes, that's not natural, that's not biology. I would love to play in the NBA. I'm not good enough. Me working harder and harder is not going to make me a player that's going to become a guard in the NBA for a variety of reasons. I am not good enough. The idea that where you start does not have to determine where you finish. That the person who takes risk and builds something that a reward, catches the incentive for everyone to try. The engine produced the most prosperous, most innovative society in the history of human civilization, not because the government engineered it, but because free people were free to build. Socialism runs in the opposite direction. It says success is like almost suspect. It says the collective decides what you deserve. And every time it has been seriously tried, it of course produces the same result. Less growth, less innovation, less opportunity, and a quiet admission a generation later that the experiment, as always, has failed. But which point an entire generation has already paid the price. I'm not saying life is easy and capitalism is perfect. It's not. I get it. I understand. I come from a more impoverished background than probably 99% of you listened. I know what it's like to skip dinners and have cereal for breakfast because of the situation that I grew up in. That made me passionate about wanting to have skills that I could convert to a utility and be persistent and resilient. Elizabeth Warren is not going away. The idea is honestly not going away. They'll just keep on repackaging it, keep lowering the threshold, keep moving the line until one day it likely does reach you. The wealth tax starts at, I get it, a lofty number of $50 million. Well, the income tax started at what, 1% in 1913, and that was going to be temporarily. Well, we know what happened there. You have to protect the principle because government, powerful enough to take it from anyone, is powerful enough to take it from everyone. And once you handed it the tools to do that, there is no easy road back from that. Now let's go in the opposite direction. Quite the contrast today. I was going to do these separately with a little more context. I elected to break them apart. Now let's talk about what American ambition actually looks like. Let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk, because while Elizabeth Warren is figuring out new ways to tax what you've built, this man is doing something that, I mean, honestly, talking about his coming out with this, well, it's been building and brewing for a while, but in the last week, it sounds like science fiction, except it isn't. Last week, Elon Musk took the stage in Austin, Texas, and announced something called a Terafab. It's a joint venture between Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI, his AI company. And it's the largest chip manufacturing project ever being attempted in human history by far. Not the largest on the planet, the largest just flat out ever attempted by anyone, anywhere. Now, here's the problem. It's really what an entrepreneur does, correct? The problem that he's solving. The entire world now produces about 20 gigawatts, of computing power every year. Every chip fab on the planet combined. Musk looks at that number and says it represents what, about 2% of what he actually needs across all his companies, 2%. So what he is doing, what Elon Musk does when the world can't keep up with him, which apparently it can't, he's just building his own. Terafab is going to consolidate every single stage of semiconductor production under one roof. So imagine chip design, lithography, fabrication, memory production, packaging, testing, all of it. The target is 1 terabyte of computing output per year. That is 50 times current global production. The facility is expected to cost between $20 and $25 billion and is being built adjacent to Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin. Now, here's where it actually gets interesting. Of all the compute Terafab will produce, Musk wants 80% of it, 80%, to go into space, not into data centers on Earth, into orbit. Solar-powered AI satellites circling the planet, running on chips specifically engineered to survive the radiation and temperature conditions of space. He has already filed with the FCC for a license to launch 1 million data center satellites into low Earth orbit. The chip factory, effectively, is being built to supply them. Now, his stated reason for it, and this is the part that, I think you kind of have to love, besides the audacity of it, is that humanity needs a backup civilization. Cities on the moon, cities on Mars, ships going to other star systems. He said it plainly, very clearly on stage. We want to be a civilization that expands to the galaxy and anyone could go anywhere, anytime they want. Now, is this going to happen in 5 or 10 years? I don't think so. Although I never want to put anything past him. Most people hear that. I get it. You're going to roll your eyes. Elon Musk hears it and he dreams it and starts to execute on it. The world's greatest capital allocator and bottleneck remover, effectively, of all time. $25 billion right now, again, chip factory. And then on top of it all, SpaceX expected to file its IPO perhaps within days. The target valuation, probably about $1.75 trillion, making it the largest initial public offering in the history of the financial markets, larger than Saudi Aramco, larger than anything we have ever seen, and looking to raise probably $75 billion effectively in a single offering. And Here is the detail that tells you everything about how Musk thinks. In a normal IPO, retail investors, really everyday people, get maybe 5 to 10% of the available shares. The rest go to, well, of course, institutions, Goldman Sachs, the big funds, the people who are already rich before the company went public. Musk reportedly wants 30% of this IPO available to retail investors, 3 to 6 times the normal allocation. The guy building a galactic civilization wants the person watching this to have a shot, to have skin in the game. The only way you could keep up the debt that we have, the rising costs of inflation, again, skills to utility, building companies, but if not, working within an organization and buying assets that go up in value. It's the only way out. Now, look, we can debate Musk timelines. You can debate whether the terawatt target is achievable on the schedule he is describing. Admittingly, Musk may have a little bit of a history of setting deadlines that, well, they can slip. But here's what's not debatable. I mean, the rockets land themselves now. Starlink exists and works. Tesla exists. The Optimus robots walking around the Tesla factories doing real work. When Elon Musk says he is going to build something that has never existed before, the track record, we could debate the timeline. The track record says you better take it seriously. That's what American ambition looks like. Not a government program, not a committee. There's no statues to committees. Come on. Not a 500-page bill with a $25 billion price tag that gets fought in Congress for what? For over a decade. Bottleneck and bureaucracy continue on and on. One person, maybe it's you, can make a difference. Your child, your grandchild, I don't know. One person with vision, a company, and the willingness to bet everything, to have the guts, bet everything on it, building things the rest of the world hasn't even imagined. And Elizabeth Warren is designing new ways to tax people, to limit people, to be bureaucratic, to put bottlenecks in the way of people that are actually building things. Elon Musk is building a chip factory the size of a small city to put a computer network into orbit around the Earth. What that is going to do for the West, for the United States, don't get me started relative to everything comes down to money, to oil, energy, and the race to AI, which includes space. This is huge. We are so fortunate that this person, not even born in the US, and we could debate immigration. Some of you will have some good points there. I understand. We're lucky that Elon Musk is in the US. I'll tell you that. One of these people understands between Warren and Musk how progress actually works. The other one simply just wants to tax it. 20 years. From my perspective, let's take it a little to the home stretch. If I did these individually, I could pontificate longer. And I'm happy to field any questions. And I get it. Whenever I mention the name of Elizabeth Warren, there's going to be at least half the audience that automatically is going to shut out and everything is negative. And the same thing with Musk. No matter, you got these celebrities, actresses, and really bad singers talking about that he's not a smart person, that a bad entrepreneur. You may not like him in the direction and capital he used to, you're going to say, influence the political situation. That is your perspective. You might be right about that. But come on, ridiculous to say that he's not incredibly brilliant, has audacity, is an entrepreneur, and the amazing things that he's thinking of and doing is just utterly amazing. So I wanted to have the dichotomy of, again, what Elizabeth Warren is doing versus Musk. Come on, it's no comparison. That's not to say that, and by the way, politicians care about being elected, getting reelected, and fattening their pockets. And that applies to both parties of power here in the US. There is no doubt about that. I hear you. You're not incorrect. I know some of the comments coming in are, thanks, You, uh, yeah, some of you had to bring up in terms of the No King's Day. Broadly, I mean, again, for someone in the family office world, a vast majority of people are very vanilla, down the middle. They don't, I think, do the research, are a little bit ignorant, and are somewhat afraid to state their opinion. I think there's many things that Trump is doing that is absolutely beneficial. And when it comes to things like AI and other factors, I'm a big favor. But if you're bringing up the fact that he's looking for ways to run effectively for a third term, you would be correct. I don't like that either. I also have to weigh what my alternative would be. Kamala Harris as president, completely unacceptable. What? Lack of freedom of speech, cancellation culture, limits on AI. I could go on and on. Like that's the compared to the current direction that I'm seeing in the last year of the Democratic Party, that she might even be relatively moderate. So we're going to see. We'll see how things play out in the midterms. Much more to cover on that. And obviously, years out from now in 2028, the election. This only comes down to the race between the US and China. And if we lose that, and that effectively is an AI race. I'm sorry. I know many of you get mad that I always bring it up. And you heard many of my pontifications with the Iran war and all that. It's money, oil, power, and control within the next 5 or 10 years is going to dictate effectively a winner. Maybe it's not winner take all, but effectively two country race, the US and China. So like yeah, like you all, like some of you, again, when I say some of you are bringing up good points, I'm putting my own bias relative into that. So that may be a little unfair. Like, and I understand that some of you are going to look at it and say, Elizabeth Warren is for the working person, for the everyday person. This is a wealth tax at a massive amount of money and it's tiny. Yeah, like the 1913 income tax. It starts off very small. It goes down in terms of its nominal number, and they start to raise it more. And effectively, it's taking from those that are building. You must see the difference between someone like Warren and someone like Musk. We need more people like Musk. Now, does that mean, again, we could go on campaign contributions, on their influence, on suppose they're not liquidating an asset, but they're borrowing against it. Should there maybe be a tax on that? I would almost be willing to say yes, but I'm afraid you give an inch, they want a yard. That's my problem with it. But I agree, it's something that is worthy to put on the table as a discussion, although I would not be in favor of that. So I'm happy. Again, there's probably more comments than questions coming in. In wrapping up, so I could actually, on this beautiful day, get to this wonderful Padron cigar, which I do look forward to enjoying. I got a very active week. I'm going to be on the road relatively soon again. I'm hosting a member roundtable on 3 incredible subjects in Puerto Rico in mid-April. I'll be back in Palm Beach, involved in an energy event, discussions on oil, Iran versus US, and some of the things we're seeing there. Lots of subjects, wearing my family office hat and that perspective to talk about. And then off to LA in early May. And many of you always hear me talk about AI. I do understand, oh, there's so much going on. I'm going to have a March recap. I'll probably do it tomorrow or Tuesday, somewhat like I did in February. And so much happened in February. We are just at that point now where 30 days in the world of AI, there's so much going on, including Elon's announcement, but Jensen Huang, the frontier models, the open weight, very powerful models in China like DeepSeek and others, what Jan LeCun and others are doing. There is so much that happened in March. So among the marquee things that I do for my members is I host multiple in-person, immersive, multi-day with incredible faculty, along with my hands-on experience, immersive AI masterclasses. Go to angelorobles.com to learn more about that, to learn more about membership, and join as qualified an incredible network of incredible peers around the world. I travel the world frequently, and I learned so much from travel to some incredible countries and people out there, and some amazing entrepreneurs and families that are doing incredible good and no, not just for themselves, for the world. Uh, Making a lot of money after a certain point has some level of limitations. You need to have a sense of purpose, a sense of direction. And we're all on this earth together. And maybe I'll do something. A billionaire did remind me, we all have 100 problems until we have a major health issue. And then we have one problem, no matter how much money you have. Although arguably you could get better health care and all that. I get it because you have the resources to be able to pay for that. You could go from 100 problems worrying about to just one, depending on that diagnosis. So everyone, it's always a pleasure. Hopefully some of you will look at angelorobles.com and consider joining my private community built around effectively single family offices. We have so much content upcoming, lots of programs. And again, in June 23rd and 24th, it's up on the website in person, my AI Masterclass. A couple of more comments came in. Just make sure they're all right to read out loud. You know, I get some interesting comments. Yeah, again, the problem is the bifurcation in this country with the left and the right. Both sides have gone very extreme. There doesn't appear to be as much meeting ground sort of in the middle. And I get it. I think that's where most Americans and people would probably fall. Maybe I'm too right-leaning for many of you. And again, we all have to be careful about getting in an echo chamber, which I have a problem with as well. Although I do force myself, my God, I even watch some of Sneako's streams and the things coming out of that guy's mouth. But it's important for me to hear other perspectives. And occasionally, like I've always said before, like a good poker player, you know, we kind of change our mind. And who knows, like 10 years from now, maybe things totally flip and I have a different perspective. I don't believe in getting locked into a party, whether it's Democratic, Republican, or even Libertarian. I want to be open-minded depending on the situation, policies, the quality of the people, their ethics, their morals, and the value. And again, from my perspective, sure, I'm going to prefer a smaller government because I absolutely think that is 100% the correct way to go. So I know there's a little bit of bickering there in the chat. You know, we're all humans. Many of us have children, grandchildren, a bloodline, and we all want what's going to be best for them. And I do understand the other perspective of feeling trapped, of feeling that things are getting more challenged, that AI is going to create job loss. Now, we didn't get into, it's a different subject. Depending on advancements in AI and robotics, it's likely inevitable. We're going to need some form of universal base income. Maybe the robots get taxed. Boy, that's lots of discussions there. Go back to my discussion with the Moonshots co-host and much more than that, Dr. Alexander Wisner-Gross. We touch upon that a little bit. A lot more to come in the coming weeks and months. And again, I want to be curious and searching for the answers. I do not want to make it seem like I have all the answers or anything that I say is correct. What I am going to say is the family office world lacks conviction to openly have discussions, either through ignorance or fear, or they just like being down the middle. I guess it was Michael Jordan who said, what, you know, Republicans buy sneakers too. I don't know. Maybe that is the right approach from a purely business perspective. It's not where I am at this stage in my life and my career, as imperfect and very imperfect as I am. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed today's subject. Reach out to me anytime. We have an interesting week. I should be doing several solos, including the one that gives a recap of AI into Monday or Tuesday. I have some thoughts that I've shared partially before on kind of, I wouldn't quite say new architecture of family offices moving forward, but the concept of employees and the direction and the adaptability is going to change a lot. And I think it's happening right now. So I'm preparing something on that. And I have a unique, cool guest on tokenization, NFTs, and all that upcoming on Thursday. I haven't done a deeper dive on that in actually a long time. So both from a solo and interview perspective, this upcoming week, before I kind of start more travels, is going to be very busy. Someone stated, learn a trade. The world will always, I kind of agree with what you're saying until you said the word always will need plumbers, electrician, welders. No, not always. Within 10, 15, 20 years, I don't know. Eventually, again, robots that are 24/7, that don't take time off, are going to inevitably replace that. That's going to lead to a deeper sense of what purpose is, changing of capitalism as energy cost goes to zero and labor could be very much near zero. Alexander Wisner Gross said, kind of think of a Star Trek future that probably is being a little bit utopia. Maybe. I probably got to have him back on in the summer, and other thought leaders that many of you would recommend. And again, I want them to have a different perspective than me. I want to be curious. I want to learn, and I want to kind of battle ideas. And that's just me and who I am at this stage. Again, everyone, I'm Angelo Robles, the original founder of Family Office Association, a consortium of many, many single family offices, sold at, kind of retired, kept active social medias, active allocator, and I had to get back in the game about a year and a half ago and building up to 100 incredible families as part of my private intelligence strategy and membership community called SFO Continuity. It's all at angelorobles.com. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for your comments, even those that disagree. If anything, I encourage those. So maybe I could change my mind. We shall see. Thank you all. Now it is time to enjoy outside this wonderful cigar. Thank you all so much. Have a great day and a great final couple of hours if you're live to this weekend, and a busy week, at least digitally this week. Thank you.